AITAH for telling my SIL that I've had 4 miscarriages when she said I didn't understand her loss? 34F, I'm married and a mama to a 1-year-old daughter. My husband and I actually had a very difficult time becoming parents. I've had 4 miscarriages, 4 before my daughter was born, but I'm honestly just so thankful that we have her. I don't typically speak about my fertility issues, and the only people who know how about my miscarriages my parents, husband, and 2 older sisters. My husband has a SIL, 31F, who we love dearly, but she tends to play the woe is me card and act like no one else is struggling as much as her. She and her husband recently got pregnant, and about a month ago, she had a miscarriage. She's been open about it on social media and at family events, and so I've reached out and expressed my condolences and listened several times. I can tell that she's really struggling with this, and I genuinely feel badly that she's suffering. On Saturday night, we went to my in-laws' house for dinner. My SIL was talking about the miscarriage, and how hard it's been. My little girl was sitting on my lap, but she was playing and obviously didn't understand what her aunt was talking about. At one point, my SIL started crying, and my daughter noticed and got upset. She wanted to give my SIL a kiss to make it better. She always does this when someone is upset. I told my SIL that my daughter wanted to give her a kiss, and she said no pretty harshly and looked annoyed. My daughter was confused, and I told her to give me a big kiss instead. My husband said that was rude, since our daughter noticed she was sad and just wanted to make her feel better. My SIL then said it's just hard that both of her brothers have happy and healthy babies when her child is dead. She said she loves her niece and is so happy that she's here, but she's sad she and her husband haven't been blessed with a child yet. This deeply upset me, because I can't believe she'd be triggered by her own niece. I've never looked at my sister's kids or my BIL's kids and felt anything other than joy that they were in the world. My SIL must have noticed I was uncomfortable, because she proceeded to say that we couldn't possibly understand since we haven't ever lost a child. I should have kept my mouth shut, but that comment and assumption was the last straw. I told my SIL that we do understand, since I had 4 miscarriages. I said that it took years of trying before I brought my beautiful girl into the world. My MIL, who's very kind and empathetic, hugged me and said she was so sorry to hear I'd struggled with that. My SIL was shocked, and asked why we never told anyone. I said I'm private, wanted to process it on my own, and have a hard time talking about my own hardships because I know everyone else is going through things as well. Anyways, my husband told me that his sister called him and is upset. She said I was trying to compete with her by saying I had 4 miscarriages. She also said I was trying to make the conversation about me when her wounds are still fresh. She also commented that I was being passive-aggressive when I said everyone is going through things and that I was minimizing her loss. My husband was laughing when he told me, but I actually feel a bit guilty. Maybe it wasn't appropriate to bring up my miscarriages in that moment, but her comment really got under my skin. AITAH? Story 2, AITAH for leaving my sister's kid with a family friend after she was hours late picking him up? I, 36M, agreed to babysit my sister's son, 8M, last Friday night so she could go to a friend's event. She said she'd be back early Saturday morning, and I was happy to help. I even planned some activities for us before she came by, since I don't often get to spend time with my nephew. Saturday morning rolled around, and by 9 a.m., she hadn't shown up. I texted her, and she replied that she was on her way, so I didn't worry. We had breakfast, hung out, and waited around until about 11 a.m. I texted her again, mentioning that I had plans at 3 p.m., and she replied with, "Be there soon." By 1 p.m., I started getting anxious because I still hadn't heard anything more. I tried calling, but she didn't answer. I left a voicemail reminding her I had plans later in the afternoon and needed her to let me know her ETA. By 2:30, I was really stressing. I had been planning to leave by then to get to my friend's party, but she still hadn't shown up or answered her phone. Finally, around 3:30, after calling and texting with no response, I reached out to a family friend who lives in my building. She's known my family for years, and my nephew and sister know her well, so I knew he'd be comfortable and safe. The family friend was happy to help, so I explained the situation and left my nephew with her, giving her my sister's contact info in case anything came up. When my sister finally picked up her son at 5 p.m., she was furious. She accused me of abandoning him, saying I'd had one job and should have waited. I explained that she'd promised to be back in the morning, then ignored my texts and calls. I also told her I'd left him with someone we all trusted. She said I should have sacrificed my plans, even if it meant waiting all day, since family comes first. I feel guilty for leaving him, but I was hours late to my own event and frustrated by her lack of communication. AITAH for not waiting for her to show up and leaving my nephew with a trusted family friend? Story 3, Tofu accidentally ruined something my boyfriend really cares about. My boyfriend, 25M, and I, 24F, went to a football game to record content for his social media. He works in sports broadcasting, writing, podcasts, and TikToks. We drove about 3.5 to 4 hours to get to this game. College game day was there, it was a big game. As he went around interviewing people, I was behind the camera recording, or so I thought. I work with cameras a good amount but usually focus on photography and not videography. We found out while trying to look at the footage after the game that some of the really good and the best interview he's ever gotten had not been recorded due to technical issues / me not catching that I had switched starting and stopping recording when starting or stopping interviews. Out of the about 7 interviews I recorded, intro, outro, B-roll, and other footage I thought I had recorded, I only really got some B-roll, maybe 2 interviews, and a lot of my feet walking between interviews by accident. He's obviously upset that most of the recordings were not there, and I was and am very upset with myself about messing it up and ruining this for him. He told me it feels like a big waste of time and money since we don't have anything he can actually post from the whole event, which I feel is kind of fair. I feel like an absolute POS over it, and I don't know if there is anything I can say or do to make it up to him or even get him to trust me behind a camera for him ever again. I did apologize, but I don't feel like that even did anything to help him or myself. Side note, this was someone else's camera that I have not used before, but I feel I still should not have made a mistake this large. Please let me know if you think there is anything I can say or do to help make literally any of this better. I feel so awful about it all. TLDR, I accidentally didn't record interviews for my boyfriend to post on his channels and found out after the game ended. He is quite upset and I am quite upset with myself. Is there anything I can say / do to make this situation suck less?